Hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Love Human Be Spirit. We're excited to be here again today, recording as we always are. How are you today, my beautiful co-host Monique?
I am doing awesome. I'm excited to connect with our special guest that we have on today. She's a friend of ours that we know through our beautiful Day Luna community of humans that just keeps expanding us in ways that we never see coming. And the guest that we have on today is one of those humans. So I'm super stoked. I'm excited to get into her design and get into her life. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce our guest.
Wonderful. Okay, so Monique and I were so blessed to meet our guest last April of 2024, at the Day Luna retreat that was in Mexico that activated the shit out of us. Thank you very much. So we have the beautiful Lori Lisai. Please tell me I said your last name correctly.
That's good, Lori Lisai.
Yeah, okay. And you are a 5-1 emotional generator. And so just tell us whatever you feel called to share with us. Whatever you have a response to share, please do.
Okay. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I love your pod and I love being in the energy of the two of you. You're just both so dynamic uh and I'm so appreciative. So thank you. And yeah, I'm Lori Lisai and I use human design mainly to work with midlife women and helping them to, shed the shoulds and come back to who they were meant to be. And I'm finding more and more that that midlife and sort of the perimenopause initiation is the perfect time to lean into your human design. At the drop in estrogen is kind of doing you the favor where if you gave all kinds of fucks before before your hormones started going wild, then they drop off and you care a little bit less about what everybody thinks of you. So it's like this built-in kind of permission that you get to start exploring your energy and being true to it.
I love that.
Oh
That
my
was
God.
so beautiful.
That's
Mhm.
brilliant. What a brilliant connection that I would have never made. But that was so beautiful. I just want to tell our listeners too before we go on. Lori had us on her podcast as well. She has an amazing podcast called Midlife by Design, right? Am I saying the name right?
Yeah, yeah.
And just so because Amy and I are about 9 years apart, and I don't think I'm midlife yet. I'm not really sure can you like say what that means to you, like as somebody that uses that in their podcast name and in your work and stuff like that, just for maybe people like me listening that don't exactly know what perimenopause is and stuff like that. I'm
Yeah.
43. I'm like around the corner, but like still, I don't know a lot of these terms and stuff. But what a brilliant connection that you just made with
Yeah.
giving less
Thank
fucks and the estrogen drop. Like, hey, yeah, let's use that to our advantage. Like, I just love when we look at things about our womenness and use it in ways that we can leverage for ourselves, right? Like our
Yeah,
hormone, like that. That's brilliant. So, anyways, can you say a little more?
absolutely. And Monique, you said you're 43?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's
Am
kind
I
of,
midlife?
I mean, you're definitely in that sort of perimenopause phase, I would say.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that you'll start to see symptoms of it if you haven't already. I wasn't really thinking about it either in my early 40s. And part of my mission is to help women start to be able to identify some of those things earlier on before it gets to be kind of a train wreck of just feeling like you're being
Mm.
raked over the coals with whatever hot flashes or low libido or you can't freaking remember anything, some of those more traditional symptoms. So to me, midlife can be anywhere between like late 30s to, mid 50s even. So I define it pretty loosely, and really just looking to serve women who are in kind of that transition phase.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is really hitting home for me because I have a very close friend that is exactly my same age and going through some female issues of this sort. And they came on very suddenly and abruptly, and it's been scary. And like, I don't know anything about it. You're like
Yeah.
so, so yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah. I mean, luckily the conversation I think is starting to pick up. And I'm curious, Amy, about your experience because you're a little closer in age to me, but I feel like sometimes like you can be in a bubble when you're talking about your own thing and it sounds like everybody is talking about it, but it does feel like for example, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, was on Mel Robbins' podcast, and talking about perimenopause and so it feels like it's becoming more mainstream, but women's health in general is just, we completely get the shaft, I think. Maybe that's a bad a bad
Ba-dum-bum.
God, that was good, actually.
um, but we get
Yeah.
the short end of the stick. Well, that's not even better. Anyway, um,
You're doing it, bro. You're 2 for 2.
yeah, we don't get nearly the attention that we deserve. And so I think the more voices that we can have out there, the better. And what I'm finding is that human design is the perfect tool to give women language around coming back to themselves, in a time when they feel really ungrounded.
Oh, God, I love that. I love that. I feel like that's such a, I mean, obviously it's important. And like to your point, like, yes, like women's health is so, it's such a like, we don't even know. We don't even know our own bodies half the time. Like it's crazy. Like, I mean, I'm talking about myself, not like pointing fingers here, but there's stuff that like, I mean, like I said, I'm 43 and I'm still learning about my fucking anatomy right now. It's like, that's strange that I didn't know that. That's weird. Nobody taught me that, like didn't come up at all. And, yeah, well, and I love your connection though also for saying how human design is a great tool for this particular demographic of people. And there are a lot of women I find in this space that are around this age, between I think the ages you said, 35, whatever you said, the midlife age. So yeah, I love your lane that you found for yourself here. Really, it's just impressive and important, I think.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Lori, it looks like I'm about 3 months older than you.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, you
Yeah.
guys
Yeah.
are
Um,
exciting.
and I went through my official Chiron return in the summer of 23. 23 was, yeah, what do I want to say about 23? Very challenging is what I'll
Mhm.
decide to say about that. And so I never turned the focus and the microscope on myself. My kiddos were battling their own health journeys. And so as a single mama, I just like very primal instincts that all my energy and attention went to them. And so last year, I was like, all right, I got to put some focus back on me. And I think it's just so interesting because we're just not taught this stuff. It's not mainstream. I mean, thank God for Mel Robbins, the Huberman Lab, Andrew Huberman put some shit out there. Like people from both sides of the fence, if they want to listen to Mel and the way she does it, you're going to get, a perspective. And then, Huberman, how he does it, for a 3-hour podcast. It's fucking amazing and mind blowing and very activating when you're hearing things for the first time. And to me, as you were sharing these things, it was like when I learned my design. I was just like,
Mm,
wait, what? Wait, like I'm not crazy? Wait, you're like this is all very
exactly.
real and there's nothing wrong with me. And just like a lot of those things, and that I felt that so deeply when I was listening to Dana and Shayna's episode on manifestors. I was like, how do they know that about me? And I feel the same way when somebody's talking about some of these health things relating to, midlife for women. Um, and it's not easy to navigate and it's not easy to be seen and heard and supported in the ways that we're meant to. And so I am grateful that you're shining the light on it, marrying, you know, what our body is naturally doing with a system that shows us in very intricate detail how we can support ourselves. Like, whoo, thank goodness for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My God, how lucky
exactly.
are we? I'm like thinking about the women that we have on here, and I'm like, Like you're like that's such an this is such an important thing. I'm realizing in real time, like what your message,
Mhm.
and this I don't know this use of the system. Like what a cool focus area of focus. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there are so many women who get to this age who feel like they've kind of like they've lived out their best years, or that it's the time of life where they're kind of cast off, and treated as less than because you're getting older or because, you stop menstruating, so therefore you can't make life. So, what else, what other purpose is there for a woman? And, the message is actually no, you have sort of done your time in a way. You've spent probably largely a very large part of your life caring about other people, right? And prioritizing other people. That's what estrogen does. It literally is the hormone that makes us give a shit. And so it's wonderful as mothers if we decide to birth humans that we have this flood and it supports us. But when it starts to drop and we feel like completely different humans in a different body. I mean, there's so much that changes in your body during midlife that it's time to come back to who you actually came here to be. And I feel like it's your big green light where it's, hey, you already did the caring for everybody else. And guess what? Now, like you were saying, Amy, it's time to turn inward and it's time to look at you and how can you care for you and what did you come here to do? How did you come here to live out your purpose? And I think that being able to shift the focus to that is so empowering and helps women feel so much better about the badasses that they are at this stage of life, and to me it's like, yeah, I've the left angle cross of demands, I'm like, freaking midlife women are going to change the world, this is the energy we need. So
Oh, I love this energy. I love it. I love it so much. Um, were you gonna say something, Amy, or can I go
Yeah.
say
Yeah,
things?
go.
I'm just thinking back to I just want to tell our listeners one more time. We met at the Day Luna retreat where there was a lot of amazing women, like
Mm.
that Amy and I got the pleasure of meeting. I mean, Amy and I were lucky enough to be on two of these retreats, and we are still very close with some of the people we met on the first retreat. And now we have these new relationships with people like you that we've made in the second retreat, and it's so beautiful the way that those two women bring together some of the, I mean, Amy and I
Mm.
always say we wouldn't have know each other, right? This podcast might not be here. They roomed us together. That's how we got here. Right. And so you met some people on the retreat that we went on all together that you are kind of engaged with in a way similar to how Amy and I started working together. You're working with them now, right? Can you say a little bit more about that?
yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. What you said is just so like bang on about, I'm using a phrase that Maggie uses. My friends Maggie Thomas and Dr. Johanna Kokoda, we all met there. And uh, yeah, Dana and Shayna just have this beautiful way of attracting, right? Just the perfect people. And when I think they are such a great example of pulling people into kind of your field, right? Your energy field. And the people who come to those retreats or choose to go on any retreat, I really feel like are honoring their authority, and trusting that pull, right, to participate in something. So Maggie and Johannika and I met there. Johannika had reached out to me before just from the chat to introduce herself, and something just pulled her to me. And then Johannika and Maggie were roommates. We ended up doing one of those excursions. We did the dolphin excursion on the day that they were looking for somebody else. And I don't know, something about my energy was like, Lori's going to be fun. So let's invite her. So, so they asked me to join them. And that just sort of anytime you have an experience like that with people, it just brings you closer together. And yeah, we didn't have any plans at that point to do, anything together, but we stayed in touch. And then ultimately, we all had it sort of on our vision board, future wishes and dreams to host a retreat ourselves. And so we were like, hey, how about now? How about we do this? And Johannika is a holistic doctor, and her approach is very much about working with women in perimenopause and menopause and from a holistic perspective. And then, Maggie is a little younger than we are, but in her 40s, and she's going through the perimenopause transition herself. So the three of us together, I think, are able to talk to the different phases of the experience. And it's been really a lovely relationship. And I know that the two of you uh, working together have been able to honor one another's design. And that's part of the beauty when you connect with other people, right? Is knowing their design and knowing how the three of you or the two of you might best work together. And that has just been such a gift. So, yeah. So, thank you for asking about that.
Yeah. We didn't get to, Amy and I were like, when we are together, we're very self-contained in our little bubble often. And that's just how it happens.
And you
We've,
don't get to spend much time in real life together,
yeah,
right? So,
exactly. And so then when we
yeah.
do, we're like very much in our bubble. And because we had relations with some of these other people from the previous retreat that we were excited to see, I think a lot of our time and energy went there. And so I know Lori, we connected a bit more with Lori, but we got to talk to Maggie and Joe a little here and there, and a little bit towards the end more than not, right, Amy? For both of us, I think we had little moments with them, but I had the most conversation getting to know Lori, and then we even saw each other at the airport. And there was something about your energy that is very drawing and endearing. I will say there is like that generator aura is just enveloping and friendly. And I just want to say Joe and Maggie's designs too for people listening, because we know them. But can you go ahead and say them their designs for our listeners too? Because I know the projectors out there want to know all the things like me.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all emotional authority, and Joe is a projector, and Maggie is a manifesting generator.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really nice to have Maggie's initiating energy, and Joe's big picture kind of view and
Vision.
thinking. Yeah, yeah.
Um, that's awesome. That's so, I love I love also when you spoke about it and how the retreat and you all had this idea. And I love how quickly it can come to fruition when we're dealing with, especially I feel like this dynamic of a manifesting generator, a generator, and a projector all kind of working in unison. I can see things happening like tangible. And we say this all the time on this show. Like the only reason we have things are because of sacral beings. Like the only reason that there's things anywhere, the reason this desk is here is because one day a sacral's like, I'm gonna build a desk. And that's what happened. Like, there was some guidance maybe from me, and there was maybe some initiating from a manifester, but the bulk of this world is built by you all. And the things that come into fruition fast, I feel like in my experience, can go a little faster with an MG involved, right? Like, I don't know, you could speak on that more, but when Amy and I, as non-sacrals, watch the sacral team do their thing, we're like, wow, look at those MGs doing a million things. And the generators are like the ones that are like climbing something a little slower. Amy has beautiful examples because her daughter and her son-in-law are both generators, and then her grandson is an MG. And she'll send me videos sometimes of this little boy like, just
skipping the steps. He's skipping the steps.
Skipping the steps.
Yeah.
And the generator parents being like, okay, buddy, but like, like obviously I'm not really doing their voice, but you get the gist of it. Like they're like, yeah, no, like let's see. And so I just love the idea in my head of picturing I love that you're all emotionally defined too. What an inspirational kind of vibe too for so the retreat that you're doing is a midlife focused retreat. Like, is that accurate or what?
Yeah, it's called Wild Women by Design,
Mm.
and it's really built around the archetype of the wild woman, with the idea being that um, eh, that it's an archetype that sort of fits between the maiden, then the mother, then instead of going right from the mother to the crone, there's like this wild woman phase. And the wild woman is really just about getting to that point of not giving a fuck and just being willing to be who you really are, stop asking for permission, all of the things that human design teaches us, um, and so we're incorporating some other elements. Mags has background in Ayurveda and yoga, so there are some components there. And then Johannika brings the doctor the doctor perspective, where she can speak about specific issues that come up in perimenopause and menopause and women's health, but also from the holistic perspective. So incorporating just thinking about cycles and women's cycles and how do those change during this phase of life. So yeah, we're kind of incorporating all of those pieces. And we also really felt called to provide support around the retreat, because I'm fairly certain that most of us have this experience of going on retreat, and it's this deep, being there is so powerful. And then sometimes coming home feels like a cold shower, or, it's really hard to return to reality. So we've built in support leading up to it, where we'll be meeting online and, coming together as a community and getting to know one another even before we get to Costa Rica. And then when everybody returns home, supporting them coming back into that reality so that they don't lose, those pieces and that bravery that maybe it takes to actually do the thing when you're back in real life.
So well said and so well thought out because wow, last year's retreat, I shared on your podcast, just really, really confronting, just like from the minute I left the airport to,
Right.
to
Oh my God,
embark,
your
yeah,
story.
to embark on the whole thing. And I've always referred to it like when you come back from something like that, I always say, wow, be careful with your reentry, right, to your everyday life, especially if you come back to a home where there's just a ton of expectations. Now, I didn't come back to having little ones underfoot. But
Mhm.
I just really remember, Lori, at 46, I became an empty nester and
Mm.
I like was ecstatic and in celebration of that, but I also didn't really plan to do that. I mean, I had a vision for that when I was married with my husband, and so it didn't look the same. And so I was like, wait a minute. Every time I take a vote, I win. So I'm like, why am I holding? So I do feel like there was this unleashing of myself when I took my son, to college. It also happened to be in 2019, right before the pandemic. So then, I have my first whole semester. I'm living alone, living in this luxurious apartment that is has everything I need, the pool, the gym, all these things. I'm like celebrating myself. I had left my fucking corporate life and just celebrating that after 25 years. I mean, all these magical things. And then the pandemic, and he's like, yeah, I'm coming back home. And I'm like, what? Wait, I live in a two-bedroom apartment and I work from home. What? And so I
Oh.
had to move my office into my bedroom. And it was so beautiful too, like in reflection of it these many years later. Ah, I'm so grateful for
Mm.
that time. But I also really recognize and acknowledge that I had more boundaries for myself. Because it was like, no, no, no. I kind of like I'd moved my daughter to Michigan where she is with now her now husband and baby, and my
Mhm.
son was going on. So it was just like, okay, everybody's just kind of like doing their thing, and mama's going to get a chance. And I think it's important that we allow ourselves to step into that. But it was definitely some wild phase stuff too, like just like, ah, fuck it, I'm going to give that a try. And I'm so grateful for it. I
Mm.
think none of us need permission, but often many of us are waiting for it, you know?
Mm. I
and
love that.
letting that hold us back. And
Yeah.
I've never been one to ask for permission. Also, not great at asking for forgiveness if I've done something that I'm a 3-5 for crying out loud, emotional
Right.
manifest. Who knew, right? Like that's exactly how I'm designed to be. But yeah, and also those feelings of wow, very much like after you have a child, and all three of us have, and you're just like, what is wrong with me? I don't even know who I am anymore. What's going on? Am I ever going to get back to myself? This feels that way too. This phase,
Yeah.
only it's a lot scarier from my perspective, my vantage point, because there's not like a reward explaining it, right? Like the baby. It's like, oh, okay, I went through all this to then, nurture and love you, and it's all worth it. And now you're just like, wait, why do I feel this way? It doesn't feel good. And not being able to put words to it. And that's another reason why I'm so grateful for design. I mean, letting myself look at the ways that support me on how I get to be authentically showing up in the world, pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's wide open, right? For the really the first time in your life, if you've been sort of following what society has laid out for you, right? Like if you've gone to school and then you find a partner and then you have a child, right? And you have a job and blah, blah, blah. If you've been on that track, this is potentially the first time when your kids go off, or even if they're just getting a little bit older and less dependent on you, when it's like, holy smokes, what does the next phase look like? What is next?
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lori, how long have you been in design and how did it come to you?
Yeah. For me, it was 2019 or so. And yeah, it was part of a course that I took that the teacher had just learned about it herself. And so she kind of added this module at the very end because she was so excited about it. And I'm sure you probably had a similar experience of when it came into your life, just like that jaw dropping moment, right? Like this is for me. I mean, my sacral was definitely popping off. And I mean, whatever. I got the 952 channel. I'm a 5'1". I was like down the rabbit hole. Tell me all the things, and then just started playing with it. And I think also one of the significant gifts was learning my kids' design,
Yes.
and starting to use that as a parent as well.
I mean, it's just such a gift. The relationships, not just the one you have with yourself, which let's face it, that is the most critical one. Because if we
Hmm.
can't have that connection with ourselves, how in the world are we connecting or modeling the connections we want to have with others if we're not clear on
Mm.
ourselves, right? But then just like the dynamic of learning about our children too, and then how we can support them in ways that we otherwise didn't have language to do. And I just remember I'm the youngest of three girls, and it was such a nails on the chalkboard type of sensation when my mom would get angry with us and say, why are you all so different? You were raised in the same house." And I'm like, "But wait, isn't there something to be said for us all to be uniquely different?" I remember feeling that way. I never said it because I didn't want to piss her off, but I wanted to say it because I'm like, but I don't want to be just like them. I hate them most of the time. My sisters. They really piss me off. I don't want to be like that. And so it's just interesting because now I feel like I am in a space where all I do is celebrate with the other our uniqueness. It's like it's
Mm.
such a celebration to see how uniquely designed that you chose for yourself. Now, are you going to let yourself show up that way? And that, let me tell you, you and I were 46 when design found us. It's like, well,
Mm.
I had 46 years of being what everybody else expected. Cool.
Exactly.
Now here I am in my fifth full year, and I'm like, where have I not let myself decondition? And like that's a whole other podcast episode because I could answer many of those right now. And I'm just trusting it's happening in its own divine time as it's meant to. And conversations like this, Lori, for not only myself and Monique, but for other listeners, it's expansive for them to be able to say, you know what? I am worth taking a look at what's going on. I don't feel like myself. I would like to better understand. And, there are tools to help us do that. So it's pretty beautiful.
Yeah. And what better time to be doing it with, the shift in paradigms, right? And losing this tribal energy that we've been in for so long over the next couple of years, right? It's going to be
Mhm.
a freaking game changer. So, to have people understand what their energy is all about and have the language to be able to speak to it, I think, is so empowering.
Yeah. So what called you to go to the retreat last year that we met you at? Knowing
Mm,
that it was meant to be activating, right?
yeah,
You know?
yeah, for sure. Um, I I found Dana and Shayna early on in my human design journey, thank goodness.
Me too. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I had been following them for a few years at that point, and I had wanted to go on the previous retreats, and for a variety of reasons, they just didn't work out. The timing wasn't right, and this one they announced it. I remember that they put it on their Instagram and I saw the announcement and I don't I don't even remember seeing this on other posts, but it showed in the corner how long it had been since they posted it and it was literally like 12 seconds ago. And I thought to myself, "What?" Okay, so right, you always take those things that come into your purview as these are breadcrumbs, right? So I saw that right after they posted it and I was like, okay, what is this? And so I went immediately to their website and then I just had this feeling that I was going to need to be on the website when it opened up, which thankfully I was because I mean, and I was one of the ones who was I had to keep hitting refresh because the first room that I chose, like it wasn't going through. And so I hit refresh and then that was booked. So the second room. So I just trusted. I was like, okay, I'm here. Clearly it's selling out. If I'm meant to be there, it's gonna go through. And it did. And it was such a relief. I had this, rush of relief and excitement kind of at the same time. And it just felt so right. So everything about what they were talking about, that next level, like a chance for people who already had some foundation in human design to show up and really start working on embodying it. And like you said, like getting into those activations, not shying away from them. That was all really attractive to me.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to go down that road.
Yeah.
So
Dark,
I'm
twisty emotionals.
uh-huh. Yeah. And yeah, I mean it delivered for sure. I feel I still go back and look at the notebook. I don't know if you do the same, but
All
it's
the
the
time.
gift that keeps on giving, right?
Use both
Right?
bars, like from the first retreat and the second. Amy and I are always like, do you have the book? Can you look it up in the book, please?
Yes.
Yeah, we're talking to each other. Dana and Shana are just incredible humans. They're just incredible humans. What they've created, I mean, similar to how I was praising you and finding your lane, like they found their lane in the system and they've created this sick like almost like obsessively compassionate lane in human design.
Mhm.
Like it's like so led with curiosity and compassion for self, and that's why we always say we love that we found them early in our journey too, and it was so important, I think, because as we kept learning, you can keep learning in this system, and sometimes it doesn't exactly get taught that way, right, or shown that
True.
way. Information
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily get brought forth with compassion and curiosity forwardness, right? Like we've
Yeah.
all learned from somebody that maybe has come across a little bit more, and that's fine. Like there's a lane for everybody, that's the whole point. But we're very grateful that we found their lane also, and just the way that I mean, god, like, do you think that it ever gets old to hear that you had to because I'm sure they hear stories, Dana Chater, people refreshing the page because
Right.
they fill up so fast. Do you think that ever gets old of hearing? Because I don't think I would ever get tired of hearing that story told if it were about me, ever. Defined egos, just gonna say it. I'm not I'm proud to say it. Like, God bless them and what they've done with their projector asses and like just doing it their way. It's so
Yeah.
fucking inspiring to me every time I really sit and think about it. And then I think about the women that have come through, the women like us, I'm talking about, but like just the, you know, I have
I've
so
said
many
this. Yeah.
questions. So just let me know when I can fire away here.
Okay, I just want to share one thing, and I've shared this before, but it is so worth it, especially in this very moment where we're talking about these beautiful women that have brought all three of us together now at this
Yeah,
point, right? And many,
yeah.
many more of us creating products and services to serve those who have not yet been able to have this experience. We're carrying it on, right? We're paying it forward, and it feels amazing. But I'll never forget our closing ceremony with Dana and Shayna at the Human Design Reader Training Retreat in Costa Rica, where Monique and I met. All of us women, what are there, 35 of us or more, sitting around in a big circle, all facing each other. And Dana and Shayna pass around two pieces of paper, okay? And we're supposed to write on the two pieces of paper what we're letting go of and what we're stepping into, okay? And just very, very like intentional and authentic. And everybody's just writing away. And I got to tell you, Lori, there were a lot of times they told me to write, and I was like, I'll be doing no such thing right now. Like my stubbornness kicks in. And I look over at Allison, the other manifestor. She's like, nah, are you doing it? Nope. Are you doing it? Nope. Just checking that we're both like not giving each other permission, but just be like a little bit of fist bump going on.
Yeah.
So I am furious. I'm sitting like directly across from Dana and Shane in this huge circle. And they're like, okay, so now we're going to pass the microphone around and you're going to let us know what you're letting go of. I'm like, the fuck we are.
Oh boy.
I wrote that very personal there, sunshine. And so I got to tell you, it starts at the like Dana passed it. And so it goes. So by the time it comes to me, we're halfway around the circle. And I completely soften, Lori. I completely soften
Mm.
because I'm listening to the pain of all these women that I've been in community with for 10 straight days, hearing how they talk about each other. And I'm like, how do
Mhm.
you not see what I see? Just
Mm.
like, oh my God, this is how we all are walking around here like this. And we have a system that was downloaded in service to us to support us to be the highest potential that we invited ourselves to begin with. And they held such a sacred container. By the time it came to me, I wasn't pissed off anymore, which is pretty huge feat for them. I did say fuck
Mhm.
you to them. I'm like, first of all, fuck you for having me say this out loud. But it just the beauty of what they brought in. And so to Monique's point, I feel like if that wouldn't have been what I would have had in my ears, and no offense to the world, the universe, and whomever falls in love with whatever, but if it would have been raw in my ears,
Mm.
I don't know, maybe I would have stepped away, right? Like that's probably not the kind of energy that's going to be impactful on me in the ways when I'm starting out. I can take him in chunks, but
Mhm.
it's really important. This system is cryptic. It can be. And
Mhm.
so learning how to lean into it in a way. And for me, it was through deep compassion and understanding and acceptance. That's what I needed when the system found me. And so
Yeah.
I'm grateful to Monique's point that there's all kinds of ways to take this system in. So find the approach that works best for you. That just happened to be, and maybe for all three of us, happened to be what really landed for us. So yeah, pretty magical. All right,
Yeah.
fire away, Monique.
I just okay, just this is just what it's like, you guys, for defined mind projectors. Okay. So many things I'm holding right now. Okay. One is I just think it's really interesting that you both found design at the same time and you're like the exact same age. Because I find this pattern with other people that I've talked to, and Amy and I got a lot of experience with this when we were in Santa Fe this time last year for the conference, because there was a topic that we were talking about the 2020. There's like a class of 2020 joke, like in 2027 will be the ones that like a lot of us found it in 2020. Well, a lot of me's found it in 2020, but Amy really found it in 19, right?
It was late 19. It was,
Like late 19.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I hear Lori's story saying 19, and like for me it was more late 2020, almost 21. right? And I just, the people that I spoke to in Santa Fe were around, a lot of them were around my exact age, and a lot of them were 20 years exactly. And so I just think that's interesting, going because of the background frequency thing that you mentioned, and like the change that's like a lot of times when people get into human design, the frequency and the background frequency is not something really that we talk about. It's not something that's like explained or whatever right away, right? But like I believe that it is like one of those things that we can easily understand if we think about this, right? Like if we just look across the board at like these patterns that happen, that legitimately happen, right? And that's I just think such an example of that, and how there's these like pockets of little communities that are being birthed, right, through things like big, like Dana and Shayna, and like now your retreat, Amy and I, one day we'll have a retreat also, and like these things that I just see happening in this little bit of like the breakdown of the whole, like we're all in this together. Well, we are, but we're all in this like with our fractal,
Yeah.
really, is the thing too, because I'm not here to worry about everybody. I can't do anything for the world that way. It took me a lot of years to realize that. But if I do stuff just for my people, holy shit, do I affect change? Right? Like it's crazy. Like when I just focus on the little life that I have, the little life, just a little handful of people, right? And what that can actually stretch towards. And that's what frequency is, right? Like when we're talking at the beginning about how everyone's drawn to your energy that's met you so far in this little group that we're talking about, Lori's energy specifically. I mean, Lori has her emotional wave is the 4130, guys. Like, that's my BFF and IRL's wave. That's like just a magical, fantastical, like, and your conscious earth is 58, right? The joyous, yeah, like we're all like here for it, right? This like the steadiness of the 952 also, like that's one of those like steady as a rock energies, like you got that, like we can lean on you and feel that, like there's such and it's a collective emotional wave, right? Like all these things, like you do, and I felt that from you too. I think in probably most of the conversations you and I have had, I've cried in your presence. That emotional solar plexus is strong. That's what that means, like because I'm my emotions live close to the surface, so when I feel like some of the things but I like it, like I'm a person that likes it, so it's fine. I'm seeing these things, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about frequency, I feel like, and like the just so like it's also known as like, oh, like your certain people are meant for you type of thing, or you were meant to encounter certain people in this life. People will say things like that, but this is like big picture frequency shifts that we're seeing happening now, and I just think that it's so special and incredible that we get to have these pockets of community, and that we get to go forward and be these people that know what's up. And so when everybody starts freaking out in a couple of years, there can be some fucking anchors that are like, this is why we started building communities a couple of years ago, you guys, like we were doing it then, and I just yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted. And the timing, just the timing of it. I just wanted to point that out and notice it. I also want to know what Maggie and Joe's profiles are, because we didn't say that.
I know that really stressed me out when you didn't say
that. Oof, thank God I wasn't just
I know.
Holding that one for a minute. Okay.
Okay. So first of all, I have to just I want to just thank you for your projector amazingness of identifying it just hits. It hits, and it's just makes me so happy. I love your ability to identify those patterns, and completely agree. And it also just reminds me that I need that projector energy to remind me about those things, because I can easily forget. So
thank you. Thank you. It seems so obvious to me. So it's really important for me to hear people tell me that. So thank you.
Yes. So good. So Joe is a 2-5. So lots of projected energy there. With her projector ass. And then Maggie is a 4-6.
Okay, so 5-1, 2-5, 4-6. The only thing you're missing is a 3.
Yeah, which
probably okay.
right, nagging a little bit with the six. But yeah, I think it in general has worked really, really well. Um, and it's just fun to know each other's design because you mentioned earlier, Monique, how uh it kind of allows you to hit the gas so much faster. Like you can skip
Mhm.
steps almost when, in order to work together because you already know things about one another, right? So that's been a gift.
Have you guys looked at each other's like Chiron placements and core wound placements and that kind of thing to really honor one another's nuances as well?
Mm, good question. So Joe and I did a bit of that work while we were on the Day Luna retreat. Yeah. And sometimes it we don't necessarily like sit down to say, hey, let's have a, conversation about this, but it's more like it comes up for us in conversation as we're like living life, because not only are we planning this retreat, but we live in three different countries. So I'm in the US, Mags is in Canada, and Johannika's in the UK. So we use Marco Polo a lot, and we send a lot of messages, and we're sharing our lives as we're also building this retreat and working together. And uh, in our own way, each of us is kind of going through it right now. And so, yeah, those kinds of placements come up and more opportunities for conversation and ways to like help, ways for us to support each other as we, as life is just freaking lifing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I think there's something to be said there that if you're all in your own way going through it, I think there's going to be beauty that's going to shine through very authentically with
Mm.
the community of people that you attract to this retreat. We brought it up enough times. I think it would be important for us to give some of the specifics, like the dates when people need to be able to, you know,
Mm.
sign up, how they sign up, and we'll put all of this in the show notes. But since we're having a discussion about it, just let our listeners know like when and what, maybe some of that. And that way,
Yeah.
like I said, we'll put it in the show notes as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks for asking. The retreat itself in Costa Rica is March 29th to April 4th, April 2nd. It's 6 days. And the online support, we're actually doing our kickoff call on this Sunday, the 26th of January, but it's open for people to come in whenever they happen to find us. We really believe in that divine timing. So uh all of the sessions beforehand will be recorded. And one of the things we're learning is the nature of retreats is that most people don't book them until like 30 to 45 days before they actually go. So, I think now is the time when people are starting to really look and, it's January, people are feeling winter, and starting to think about how they can break free from, the winter doldrums. So yeah, that's the actual timing. And we don't really have a cutoff, like a hard cutoff date. We're just sort of open until it fills. So
Okay.
yeah.
And then
And
how
how
do they sign up?
How do they sign up? We have a website. The three of us together are called Soul Synarchy, with the idea of synarchy is sort of the opposite of anarchy, where it's like this idea of synthesis and coming together. And so the website is soulsynarchy.com, and we have all the retreat information on there. And they can also book a call with us if sometimes you need a vibe check if you don't know people well, or if you're just coming into our kind of circle and our energy. So we have the availability to have conversations with people and, um, to just help them get to know us a little bit better.
Right. And so we felt like having you, somebody that we've connected with on here, that would be supportive to that. And we also know that you did record it, all three of you recorded an episode with Dana and Shayna that's meant to come out. Our
Yes.
episode will come out after theirs, so we'll make sure, to note, hey, here's another full episode for people to, really get the exploration of all three of your energies. And we're, we love, love, love those girls too. So happy to share that as well. But just, this is
Thank
what we
you.
get to do. We create more and more awareness for ways that people can feel supported and connected and, create their aligned fractal. And retreats are such a phenomenal. I mean, I'm going to shout that from the rooftops for the rest of my life because that's how I met Monique and that's how I met you and so many other people that I was meant to meet, but
Yeah.
would have never known if I wouldn't have said yes to
Mm.
myself, and that's the reality. So often when we create, offerings like this, Monique and I just finished our first group program, our deep dive and seeing yourself as a non-sacral. And,
Yeah.
it's never about somebody investing in us. It's somebody investing in themselves for a
Mhm.
deeper journey into who they are. And like you said, kind of like our soul's purpose. And then to be in connection, I will never forget what that felt like to be in aura with people that understood this language. And that's the only way we communicated. And my fucking name tag, the only thing it said was my name, my profile, my authority, and my type. Coming off of 25 years in the corporate world where it was all about titles and all that hierarchical bullshit, I'm like, I never want another name tag again in my whole life. Just that one. Just that.
Yeah.
And if you
Mm.
don't know what that means, then either ask or walk on by. But just know that this is the core essence of who I am, because I've said for so long, God, what I look like on the outside is literally the least interesting thing about me. And that's what I feel like design offers us. If we didn't have the gift of sight, we would be connecting to these things on such a deeper level. But the gift of sight also offers a great deal of judgment and and,
Mm.
and uncertainty. And I just think that when you lean into your design, those things get to soften, you know? Yeah.
So true.
Yeah.
I love the way that you expressed all that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Well, it's very true for me, just in this on this journey of my own. That's for darn sure. Yeah. And I love, Lori, that like the biggest piece, so many big pieces, but one of the biggest pieces that by me having, Monique and I have now known each other for 3 years. We just had our 3-year anniversary. And it's like having someone that is just as thrilled and enthused and sometimes deeply confronted with learning this stuff. Or like sometimes like, yep, I'll sit here, can't learn anything more today. Nope, don't send me another goddamn thing. I can't take another thing in. It's so fun to have someone, in the 3D being able to have that connection with. And it offers so much more growth and expansion and acceptance for what we're
Mm.
learning about ourselves and to bounce that off. And I'm so grateful. I've got a beautiful projector who sees me and loves me and
Mm.
accepts me and celebrates me. And I hope to do the same and acknowledge and recognize. And that is magic. That is just
Mm.
pure magic. And that's what gets created in these containers. So
Yeah.
while it seems like, oh, could I possibly do that? I'm like, oh, can you possibly not? You know, that's what it feels like to me. It's like, wait, you're so worthy and deserving. Why would you even remotely think to rob yourself of that?
Mm. Mm.
So if
Yeah.
anybody's on the fence about doing it for yourself, God, please take it from me. Worth
I
it.
think it's really important, the timing of the focal point of your guys's retreat, and the timing of it, I think, is just really important too. It feels really important. It feels like, um I'm not going to choose to say it the way that I usually say it because it's kind of, but there is this like uprising in the female, like way. There's this like empowerment being taken back,
Yeah.
like, and yeah, and I just feel like it's really important to celebrate that, to like recognize it, to understand it, to fertilize it. like
Mm.
let it, really grow and flourish and come to like the forefront, because there's so many other things that are like pushed up front that like you said at the beginning of this, we still get the like shit end of the deal a lot of the time. And I just think there's something really important in celebrating like these like big come-togethers. And you're right about talking about the retreats. They will change your life. They're the kind of places where you meet these people that you end up like just they change your life, you know? Um I also had one more question that I didn't get to ask before, and it's just about your kids. I just wanted to know how old they are, because I see you post all the time, and we're moms, and we're always talking about our kids, and that is another reason. For me, human design brought two really important things to my life. It brought the ability for me to understand and like myself more immediately, and the ability to understand and support my kid in a way that I would have never ever had, I don't think, for like my perspective from where I was sitting. So that's just really important for me. So I just wanted to know how your kids age and like what um I don't know. I just you mentioned them, and you mentioned how
Yeah.
with design was also a game changer for you. And I know it is. I mean, I see your little Instagram posts. I know you're a good mom. You're out there in all the games and all the things. I see you. See you, girl, put in the time. As your dinner not, so yeah, how old are your kids? Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
So I have a 1-3 manifesting generator, 16-year-old.
mm.
And whew, he is 1-3ing for sure. Oh, damn. And the man Jen. Holy shit. Um, it's, I mean, he's such a
Attaboy.
lovely human being. And yeah, he's full on 16. And then I have a 1-4 mental projector, and he is 18. So he's currently doing a PG year. So this is his kind of first year away from home. And yeah, he's his own lovely, lovely self, learning that he was a mental projector, like game changer. I wish I had learned it earlier. But yeah, him growing up in a house full of generator types, just helping to support him with that as much as possible, and helping to support the generator types to understand like how different that is, that energy is. So
Yeah.
Did
Thanks.
it did it land for him when you shared how different and how unique he is compared to the generator type that the rest of the family holds?
yeah, I think they're a little, what would I say? I think they listen to me, but I would say like with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
They have a very healthy skepticism. Uh, you know, um, I kind of feel like they, especially my youngest too, he's like he's an emotional authority, and I've talked to him a lot about his emotions. He has a lot of activations in his solar plexus, and tried like helping him to understand how much time he needs, how much he just needs to let those emotions rip, let them process, let the tears come out. And they're very like they're still ensconced in kind of the masculine, and one of the things that is interesting, we live in Vermont. We're a pretty progressive state. Our education system has done a really good job of, I think, raising the voices of people who are marginalized, or have been historically marginalized. But I think the problem being created by that is sort of the inverse, where the cis het white boys are feeling marginalized. And what's interesting has been that has been their experience in the education system. And so helping them to find their voice while also understanding that, even if it doesn't feel like it sometimes, they kind of, they still won the lottery with being born as, white boys. So how
Right.
can they use that power for good? So So yeah, sorry, that was a very long answer, Monique, but
No, don't be sorry. I
all
love
Yeah.
about
long
my
answers.
business.
I love long answers. And thank you for answering. I just was a little bit curious to know a little bit more. Sorry about my cats, but in your day,
I love your cat, and I think it's hilarious that she's mooning me right now, or he.
always look the whole screen, you guys. What an animal. She's so
Yeah,
rude.
she makes an appearance almost every time.
The
Almost every time
disrespect
she does.
is real.
Love it. I love it.
I love you, Lori. We love you, and
Mhm.
just hearing you speak your truth and live your truth, and watching you and knowing you, um, and yeah, just how you're willing to share all the parts of this process. It's kind of what we're about here, and we really love knowing other people are on that same journey that we
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
this just sounds like a really important retreat, so we're excited to. Um, talk about it more. And I think it's really smart too how you're doing this support before and after. That's something that I saw in the way that y'all set this up that I thought was really brilliant. It's like I like that idea to have some support before and after, and for all the reasons you said and more. But yeah,
I, I can't imagine what it would have been like, Monique, if I wouldn't have had you after we came back from Costa Rica,
Mm.
because that was such a huge activation, 10 days of really deeply immersed learning.
yeah, that's a good point.
And, we like were fast and furious friends and just like started recording, 10 minutes after we left the retreat. It feels like, or just, but it just like, just to look back on that, because I have been to retreats and events and, experiences that you come back and you're like, I'm so different, but yet nothing else, and that's part of our own growth trajectory, that there's this permission that everybody else gets to stay the same while I'm changing, but it's very polarizing, And I know that when I came back from the one in Mexico last year, my partner said, "You weren't like this before you left." I remember him saying that like the second day I was back. I'm like, "Bitch, yes, I was. I just didn't let you see it." So
Mm.
it's all in full color now. And it was just like, no, I will not be put in a little box anymore. And no more, like often he says, "You're too nice." And then I'm like, well, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth, right? Either you
Mm.
want me to say what I really want to say, you may not like how it comes out, that's not on me, or you want me to stay nice. And yeah. One other thing that I want to say before we close up here is as it relates to your beautiful children. So you have an
Mm.
18 and a 16-year-old. My children were 19 and 21 when I found design, and my 19-year-old is my manifester. Okay. And so he latched on, but he's 24 now.
Mm.
And this system definitely helped heal him through, he had
Mm.
like some major health stuff. It was also kind of confronting. He's like, I wish I wouldn't have known about this until I graduated from college. Because he got really angry. He's like, this is a sacred world telling me to have all this shit done all the time on all these timelines. And I'm never given any credit for thinking outside the box. And I'm like, honey, I know. I know. I so know. But I want to tell you, I recorded with him last week because I'm doing a little special product on like the manifestor parent, manifestor child relationship. And Lori, like, I was kind of blown away to hear his perspective on like who I was before I knew design and what he witnessed. And so
Mm.
don't give up on either one of them, because their reflections maybe a few years from now, especially after they've been out from underneath your wing,
Yeah.
could be really, really powerful. So don't give up sharing this information, especially to that projector type, right? Like it really, like just understanding those nuances that are different. It was pretty, I haven't even let myself listen to the whole recording because I know I'm going to be very emotional when I listen to it, but it was pretty powerful. So
Mm.
Yeah, it's so important, you guys, to I mean, parenting with the system is just one of the ways that we're affecting change too, right? Like Amy said, like whether there's some days too where my daughter's 10. There's some, and we've had her on this show. Like she can talk design, she can have a design conversation. Like my kid is, she's
Amazing.
2.5 ego projector. I think it's that 2.5 though. They're pretty fucking naturally awesome at everything. It's kind of annoying.
Mm.
But my 1.4 is like, eh.
It,
I love that you have a 1.3 and a 1.4 also.
yeah. Yeah,
That's
my daughter's a 1-3 and my grandson's a 1-3. So my heart goes out to you, but I'm so happy that my grandson is, so my daughter gets to live it too.
No.
But I think it's really, again, going back to what you just said, Amy, it's like don't give up on that they're listening to you either, though, because they're
Yeah.
probably I'm a 1-4. I mean, I know my process is pretty self absorbed,
Mhm.
and it sometimes takes time for me to like I'm fixed as fuck. That's another thing I say to Amy. It's a 1-4. Try and change my mind. I dare you. I dare you. It's really hard. So yeah, that 1-4-ness. But what was I gonna say? That I lost my train of thought. Uh, oh, just that sometimes my kid is not into it as well. Like there's some
Mhm.
days where she's like, "Mom, I hate that you're always asking me if I'm like tired. Like leave me alone. I'll know when I'm not wanting to do
Mhm.
something." Like she's like, "Stop like, shoving design jargon down my throat," basically is what I hear her saying. But I
Yeah.
just think that it's really important either way, because there's comes days like the other day my kid came to me and said something like how she just noticed how she felt differently when she went to her one friend's house and hung out, and then the next day she hung out with her other friend. There I know their designs because I'm a fucking weirdo projector mom, and I've got her kids' friends' birth times somehow. I'm like, don't be weird about it, babe, but find out their birth times, okay? But super creepy projectors doing our thing. But yeah, she just the fact that she was able to come home and tell me that she noticed the difference in how she felt from hanging out with one friend and from hanging out with another friend. That is fucking key information for projectors, specifically for anybody. But
Yeah.
for us who are deeply designed to be conditioned by the other, who are obsessed with the other, who are focused on the other all the fucking time and kind of lose ourself in the other, like that, as somebody that did that often in life, it's incredible to watch a 10-year-old be like and tell me like with some confidence like, gosh, I just know that, and that's why they say the system is for the kids.
Yes.
Whether kids are in their 20s, in their teens, or in their tens, however you say that, but or babies like how Amy's grandson, who
Yeah.
gets to be supported in this way also, not just through Amy, but even through your daughter, who you were
Yes.
surprised at one point how much she was listening also.
Yeah.
It's just incredible what we come to, what we're doing by being moms while we're also using the system for ourselves. It's
Yes.
incredible. So you get a gold star and you get a gold star.
And you
I
get
get
a
a
gold
gold
star.
star. And yeah, we're here affecting change in the way that we can. It's really powerful, and it feels very woman
Mhm.
empowerment, and it feels very like, yeah, I want to go like outside with a sign or something right now, like hold it up and be like, yo, it's coming, the change is
Yeah,
coming, and
absolutely.
get on board with the tatas or don't, but get on board, please, because it's going to be better for you. Yeah,
I'm
so
going to do it from inside and I'll hold the sign out the window because it's negative.
that's right. I
So,
forget
so,
rigid everywhere right now.
no,
I'm
I don't
sorry.
really like to be cold. It really pisses me off.
No, I know it's
Same.
stupid cold right now too. It's not okay cold. I'm in the only place in the United States right now where it's not freezing is where I am right now. It's freezing everywhere else right now.
Yeah.
I don't even. It's not okay. It's not okay.
No, nope,
It feels
nope.
very wrong.
Hope it freezes off what it's meant to freeze off to like
Okay, all right. I like
illuminate what's
that.
meant to be illuminated. Just
I
trying to
like
find the
that.
silver
I like
lining.
that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay,
seasons are here for a reason.
Lori, you are such a gift. We're so
Thank you.
blessed to have you on our show here, and
Yeah,
we're thrilled about your retreat. We are just trusting that the people that are listening are chomping at the bit to get to that website to check it all out, which we will
I'm
have
gonna check
in
it
show
out.
notes. Yeah, me too. And then we'll link Dana and Shayna's episode where all three of you beautiful humans are on there sharing it so they can get a more immersive explanation of it. But how do people find you, Lori? Just your
Yeah.
beautiful energy. How do people connect with you?
So you mentioned I also have a podcast, Midlife by Design, so you can listen to my musings there, and get support as a midlife woman. And then I'm just at Lori Lisai, LoriLisai, on all the socials. I've been spending a bit more time on Threads lately and starting to build my blue sky presence to try to get away from the broligarchy a little bit. Yeah. But you can find me on all the socials just at my name
Beautiful,
and my
beautiful.
website.
Okay. Your name
Yeah.
is on your name is your website and all the things. Beautiful.
LoriLisai.com. Yeah. Yeah.
Love
So
that. Love that. We'll
Thank
have
you
that in the
so
show
much.
note. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
I
Thank you for the gifts that you're bringing into the world, the space that you're holding, which is so needed. Yeah, it's a beautiful
I
time.
appreciate the two of you so much, and I just continue to count my lucky stars every time we have any kind of interaction that our paths crossed, and my heart is so full. So thank you so much.
Same, same. Yeah. And you guys can check out our episode on Midlife by Design because, like we said, Lori had us on and we really enjoyed that conversation. It was one of our favorite interviews that we've ever had. We both
Yeah.
talked about that. Like, we really like how Lori asked us questions and what she said and how she held space. I remember us having a convo like that after, right? So
Yeah.
definitely check out our episode if you're into listening to us already. Which I'm assuming you are if you're listening to this podcast. So if you're into our voices, you can hear them more on Lori's podcast, Midlife by Design. And yeah, we're excited about your retreat that's coming up this year. I think it's gonna be awesome. And I love what you and Maggie and Joe are all doing together. I love that you came together to date Luna. My heart is full too. So thank you. Thank you for everything.
Mine too. And we'll remind each and every one of you to love yourself because you yourself can make your heart that full. It just adding
Yes.
connections with others, it's just like the cherry on the top for sure. So, all right, with that, we'll say goodbye until next time. All
All
right,
right.
bye.
Bye.